Welcome everyone to a new week of the CFO Swinger Watch. Let's get right ahead and start with the technical analysis. All right, so over the markets, we've been making new all-time highs for a couple of days now, or actually a couple of weeks, and we've been hitting new all-time highs with new higher lows as well. But I fear that we are in overbought zones. All right. Now, even if you're in overbought zones, that doesn't mean we'll see a heavy correction right away. All right. It just means that there's still a lot of buying going on. Okay. But there will be potentially a quick momentum shift from buyers to sellers. So you just have to be anticipating and waiting for that. But at the same time, not fight the trend as you're going up higher and higher. Okay. Um, the reason why we keep on going higher and higher is that people are trying to short every single market top. Okay, there's people who are constantly trying to short every single market top because they think that they've caught the top. But while they're shorting, there's a whole group of buyers who are, they're constantly putting the money in and buying and bidding up the market, and they're constantly pushing out these short sellers. And so what we're getting are these micro short squeezes, and as we're climbing up higher and higher due to these short squeezes, we're hitting all-time highs. All right, and usually, if you guys have followed the market trends for the past few years, the market tends to do this. All right, it tends to really trap in a lot of short sellers, and they really bring in a lot of buying momentum as well, simultaneously kicking out those short sellers. All right. And that just keeps on moving the markets up higher and higher and higher. So while that happens, you guys have to follow the trend. All right. At some point, we will see a small correction. Like I said in the newsletter, maybe around 450, because that is the halfway point between 400 and 500. All right. But if we're going to head to 500 in the next few months or so, we will need to see, okay, we absolutely need to see a huge consolidation phase. All right. We need to see a lot of sideways movements because since the March 2020 lows, we've had a huge V-shaped run. All right. It's becoming a little bit unhealthy. All right. And so we need to make sure that we're still following the trend, but anticipating a potential drop. All right. So we just need to see some type of small 5% or even a 10% correction, so that we could see that consolidation phase happen. Now, the markets will react to any economic news. For example, we had some CPI numbers come out last week, and also this week we have inflation numbers coming out from the Fed minutes. Okay, so you guys have to watch out for that, as the market will become a lot more sensitive up here to all the economic news. One negative news can potentially see the market correcting maybe even 5 or 10%. So make sure you guys are on watch for that. All right, let's look at our first name. So Roblox. We've been looking at this name for the past 2 weeks. All right, and last week we had that final breakout. Okay, um, we've been waiting for this for a bit, but we did break out of this falling wedge. I've been talking about this since ever since I saw this pattern on the weekly time frame. So if you're able to break, as I said this last week, if we're able to break out of this falling wedge, we can see a nice huge breakout, and that's exactly what we did last week. Okay, I know a lot of you guys have made some money on this name, but there's potential to make even more this week after earnings. All right, you guys have to make sure that earnings are on August 16th. So you guys have to remember, do not gamble earnings. All right, and if you guys are still holding positions, you guys have to make sure that you're risking a position that you're willing to lose. All right, and you guys should have taken out most of your shares or option contracts on your position. Now, Roblox looks pretty good so far. We retested our previous level of resistance around 82, all right, 82.10-ish, and we bounced on top of it multiple times here. And we've allowed the 10 SMA, my red line here, to catch up. And so the price is getting supported every single time we bounce on top of it, okay? And that's very nice to see. Now, we are getting squeezed and tightened up. The price range is getting tightened by this 50-day moving average that we're still underneath. All right. We need to be able to move on top of it in order to see some significant and even more buying going into this name as the 10 and 21 continue to support the movement up. So as we're getting tightened up, we will see the 50 SMA behave like this. All right, it will start going lower and lower, and eventually both the 10 and my 21 SMA, my 21 SMA is my light blue line here, eventually cross above the 50 SMA and continue to support the way higher. That's our most ideal scenario here. All right, that's exactly what we want to see. Now, with earnings in the way, all right, I will want to see a nice gap up, okay, and a hold above the 50 SMA if we have some good earnings. And so, this is exactly what I want to see. But as obvious as it seems, the market will not always give me the ideal situation. So make sure you guys on watch for all these different price levels that I've given you guys since last week and this week as well. All right. Okay, now let's look at AMAT, A-M-A-T, Applied Materials. So last week, I gave you guys a short entry and a long entry, and it looks like the short entry won in this case, as we saw a nice rejection. And last week I did say this, that we might need a little bit more consolidation as we're forming an ascending chart pattern here, okay, an ascending triangle. And so overall, on the weekly time frame, we're forming a huge bull flag. And so I did say that we're still right in the middle of the chart formation. So I would potentially see a nice rejection from here. And so we got that last week. However, I did not like the selling volume that came in. Okay, for I guess half of last week, as we are going into earnings, because I like to see our price run up into earnings, not a sell off into earnings, but they do happen. All right, so you guys can't fight that trend. So with the Mott, okay, we still have a few days left. All right, they have earnings on August 19th. I want to see a quick little bounce and a quick run up to earnings above 130. Okay, and as we're going up and higher from this bounce, from this potential bounce, there's going to be a lot of resistance because of the fact that we had a lot of selling volume the last 3 days of last week. Okay, so there's going to be a heavy supply zone up here, all right, around 132 to 134. So you guys have to make sure and watch enough buying volume to come in order to get into this name to the long side. All right, that's it for Amat. Let's go to the third name, Roku. So Roku has been on a huge sell-off, all right, and earnings, okay, earnings, there was a nice gap down as well. And after earnings, we start to go even lower, all right. And now I personally think earnings has been priced in by now, since we are now sitting right on top of the 200 SMA. So if we break below a confirmed break below the 200 SMA, we will most likely flush even more. Okay, so for this name, what I'm trying to look at and what I'm trying to play for this name is if I look at the 2 hour time frame here, you guys can see that we are forming a descending channel or even a falling wedge if you guys see it that way as well. But no matter what chart pattern that you see, this is a bullish chart pattern. Okay, we are sitting on the daily time frame. To remind you guys, we're sitting at the crucial 200-day moving average. All right, that's a crucial area of support. And so right now, Roku is also oversold on the RSI, okay, relative strength index. It's around 23.74. That is really oversold. And we are sitting at a critical area of resistance, support. It was previously an area of resistance around 356 to 357-ish. So if you're able to see a lot of buying come in once we hit this level, we can potentially make this previous level of resistance turned into new support. And so this will be our chance to have a support buy, but it's always better to see that bounce first and then get into an actual confirmed breakout to the upside. So that's the reason why I gave you guys an entry around 368 to 370. Okay, you guys can choose your entries in that range. But I would say around 369 to 370 will be a higher probability of you guys seeing a nice trade entry to the long side. Okay, now with this name, I'm expecting a very quick trade. You guys can potentially day trade this name as well, or even scalp for a few minutes. But if you see a nice big momentum buying coming in, take your profits into strength, okay, and don't just leave the position behind. All right, opened. All right, so make sure you guys sell into strength. as there is still a lot of selling volume going to this name. All right, so the last name that we have is Fiserv. All right, so this name, okay, is seeing a lot of institutional buying from big money firms. All right, and you guys should read my newsletter of the reason why I am long on this name, and I see a potential, decades long investment. But so far, Fiserv, if I look at the weekly time frame here, we're also forming an ascending triangle here, just like a mott, okay? And with this chart pattern that's still forming, we can still have a potential to break below this ascending support trend line, okay? So that's the reason why I mentioned DCA, dollar cost averaging, for this potential investment. But if we do break to the downside, the play will be on hold for me. But if we're able to kind of retest a critical area of support around 106 and then potentially even coincide with another touch of this ascending support trend line, I can see a potential entry there. So around 106 to 108 range will be a nice area to get in. All right. But if you're not able to hold the support line, I would say hold off for now. So for Fiserv, I see really good potential. If we're able to break above the all-time high levels around 125 to 127, we should see a nice blue sky breakout into 130s, 135, and eventually up to 140 and even higher. Okay, I believe analysts have a high price target around 140 to 144, I believe. I'll have to check that again. But so far, Fiserv looks pretty good. It's a very slow growth name, but to be honest, I think Fiserv is looking very, very good for the long term. All right, so that was it for the main names. Let's take a look at the extra names here. So Apple. Apple's a name that I've been looking at since the time I posted on my Instagram page. For new people that are on here on the CFO Swinger Watch, if you guys didn't know, I do put some free plays out there on my Instagram page. This was a play that I let everyone that's following me on Instagram play out. So this absolutely was a name that you needed patience for as well since the time of my post, as we were kind of chopping around this area of resistance, this descending trend line resistance. Okay, and so once we broke out of it, we saw a significant amount of volume come in, and this tells me that the price is now reacting to the stellar earnings that Apple had. They had some soaring iPhone sales results, and Apple is always being scrutinized by other financial analysts for their iPhone sales because it is a major part of their company now. It's one of their major products. And so if they ever see a slump in iPhone sales like it did, I believe, last year, it could bode not too well for the company. Okay. So with this action, I believe Apple can potentially head up higher. You guys just have to watch, especially on the 2 hour time frame. Okay. A nice pullback back to 148 and potentially even below 148 as we see the 21 SMA kind of catch up as well. Okay, so the ideal scenario here will be that if we pull below 148, we should see a nice entry happening here. All right, and so your price targets from that will be around 149, okay, 149.50, and then 150. Okay, so if we break 149.80ish here, we should see a nice run up to 151. All right, and make a new all-time high level. Okay, the next thing I'm looking at is FB, Facebook. All right, so I'm looking at very big tech names, okay, Apple and Facebook. Now, Facebook has been on a very, very nice uptrend here ever since we broke out of this huge symmetrical triangle, okay, this wedge. And so, we've been making new all-time highs and we've been hitting higher lows as well. Every single time we kind of sell off, we hit this daily 50 SMA and then we bounce on top of it, just like how SPY has been doing. And last week, I did tell you guys that the 50 SMA is a nice momentum indicator here as well, especially during a sell-off. Okay, it provides as a very good support. Support SMA where price can potentially bounce, and it's been doing that ever since. And so with the momentum 21 and the 10 and 21 SMA pairs curling upwards, I believe Facebook can continue up higher as well. If you guys look at the 2 hour time frame, okay, we also have a nice short term ascending support trend line as well. Okay, we've been holding this pretty well so far for the last few weeks. Okay, and so if we're able to break above 356.50-ish, okay, and for a confirmed breakout 366, we should see a nice pump back towards an all-time high level around 375. Okay, if we see Facebook, do absolutely well with the amount of antitrust laws that they've been getting hit with from governments all around the world, we should see a nice pump up in their price. Now, I believe Facebook is worth way more than $300 per share. Okay, I think they are around $400 per share, to be honest. So this name still has a lot of room for growth, in my honest opinion. All right, so that is my technical analysis for Facebook. Let's look at our last extra name here. Okay, Lam Research Corporation. This is one of the big names and one of the more expensive sides of a semiconductor name. All right, so this one is not as popular as such as Intel, AMD, Nvidia, but this is a name worth looking at. All right, this has had a huge growth ever since March 2020 lows. I believe they sold off all the way into $177.65. And so if you guys have invested into this name, you guys should be up a lot, all right, for the past 2 years, okay, the past year. Um, and Lacroix is a very good semiconductor name. All right, it has a very good business model, and they've been doing really well. And they kind of been, I honestly believe that Lam Research is an underdog. A lot of people kind of don't look at this name, even though it's been having such an amazing growth. If you guys just look at the monthly chart here, um, this is a great sign of a growth company. All right, Apple's charts look like this. Okay, um, Amazon charts look like this as well. Okay, and this is very similar to all these blue chip tech names. All right, and so LRCX. Okay, and the reason why I'm looking at this name is that we are forming we've been forming a consolidation phase here. We've been going sideways for the past few months since April 21st, ever since we've hit a new all-time high around, when we hit an all-time high in April. Okay, we hit an all-time high around 672.45 back in June. All right, now we haven't seen a huge price change here since we've been in a consolidation mode. Okay, this phase here of consolidation, the sideways movement, all right, I believe it's going to last a little bit longer here. If you guys look at the weekly time frame, all right, it seems like we're trying to form a textbook bull flag. Okay, we have this flagpole initial impulsive run up, and then we're going to see a nice textbook bull flag with that rectangular flag for its shape. Now, if we consolidate a little bit more longer, all right, we have a better chance of breaking out to the upside. Now, LRCX, I can potentially see it going above all the way up to 720 to 730s. But if we break below, since we saw a huge amount of selling going in last week, we can see and retest weekly significant support level around 412 to 414. Sorry, not 512 to 514, excuse me. So if we're able to come back down all the way here, that will also be a very nice buy the dip opportunity as well, since the 50 SMA on the weekly time frame is catching up as well. Okay, and so ever since I've been looking at the weekly time frame and checking the 50-day SMA. The 50 SMA on the weekly time frame has been proven to show a lot of support on the weekly time frame. And if we come back down to the 50 SMA on the weekly time frame, we should see significant amount of buying. All right, so you guys have to watch out for the 50 SMA on the weekly time frame. Now, on the daily, we're also heading very close to the 200 SMA. And so the 200 SMA, like I said before previously, that it's a very strong area of support on the daily time frame. But it should also be a warning that the price is losing momentum to the upside, and with all the other major SMAs curling downwards like this can also become a potential short opportunity. Okay. And so, if you're planning to short this name, you guys can. If we break below this major area of support during this consolidation phase around 574, that'll be the confirmed breakout to the downside. Okay. But before that happens, I expect a bounce around 575 and eventually come back up to around 600 and then rejecting off of this $600 level. Okay. But if we head a little bit higher than 600, we will go right back above to 608.50. Okay. You guys have to watch out for these levels. All right. That is it for all the stock picks here. For the cryptocurrency picks, I am still looking at the mother of all coins, Bitcoin, and also some altcoins as well, since I have sold out of my Cardano, my ADA crypto position, and I'll be looking at Dogecoin mainly. But please take a look at all the other altcoins that I've listed out on the newsletter. All right, so have a great rest of your Sunday night. I will see you guys on Monday in the CFO Discord. All right. And make sure you guys read thoroughly of what I've written on the newsletter. Make sure you guys subscribe, leave a comment down below on some other tickers you guys may be watching, and please leave a like. Have a great rest of your night and good luck trading tomorrow.